There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, but then you knew that. If you didn't know that, you now know that. And in any event, Brachelle is here. Brachelle, how are you today?
I am super good. You know, a lot of times when we come up through our life, we start to view Mondays as a bad day, but I love Mondays. It's like a new, what can I create this week? And that's why I'm excited for the show, of course, like I always say, but this is a good one to start off the week because we have a good guest. Would you like to welcome him?
I would. His name is David Kloser, and he is a former ball player, and he's got a book out that we are going to be talking about a bit. And the name of that book is Stepping Up to the Plate, Second Inning. And that is, the premise of the book, as I believe, is that he has talked to, I don't know, a couple hundred major league ball players, including Ken Griffey Jr., and who came from, of course, base parts over here. And then he went to Cincinnati and stuff. And a bunch of really cool players about how they got to be where they're at, the steps that they took, the day-to-day routines, and all of those things that can be very instructive to all of us. And not even if you're a ball player, just if you are trying to negotiate, I don't know, what they call, life. And it can be very beneficial and based upon their experiences. But before we go there, Brachelle, we have to do this because he's in Pennsylvania. Okay. Have you ever been to Pennsylvania?
I have. It was the first time I was ever on a plane, actually. And I went to meet my grandpa on my dad's side. He was a Navy vet, and he lived there for a really, really long time. I've got family over there and also in Boston and stuff. So I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with the area, David. And thank you for being here. How is the weather there today?
Thanks for having me. It is actually wonderful. It almost feels like September weather. No humidity like that. August, really hot, humid. It's not that at all.
Nice.
Oh, that is awesome.
Was your grandfather? Your father?
All around like Massachusetts, and I don't really know exactly where because I was probably like 6 years old, so I don't remember exactly. But I've got a lot of family on Facebook that's still over there that I talk to. That's still on that side of the family, and nice. Yeah, it was beautiful then, but it was a long ways away from where I was at.
And because you're in Pennsylvania and you're just a couple hours away, Brachelle, have you ever heard of a city called Gettysburg?
Of course, that's a history name.
It is, and Abraham Lincoln did the Gettysburg Address from there, which was very short and very handwritten, but it was one of those speeches that has lived forever in the 77 years ago, I do believe is how it began. And David has been there, and I wanted to touch bases because that is on my bucket list, David. I want to go to the Little Bighorn, which is where Custer met his end. And I also want to go to Gettysburg because of the huge historical significance of that particular battle.
Yes, I'm from York, Pennsylvania. So it's South Central Pennsylvania. And a way to describe it is what I say is York is about 30 or so miles east of Gettysburg, about 30 miles west of Hershey, the chocolate place, about 30 miles south of Harrisburg, the capital. So more context, we're about 2.5 hours west of Philadelphia and about 3.5 hours east of Pittsburgh. So we're just south central of, and Williamsport, they just had the Little League World Series, probably about a 3-hour drive north, but it winds, works its way up there. But yeah, with Gettysburg, it is amazing. When I recommend around 4th of July for the reenactment, and there are people that are gung-ho history buffs. They eat, sleep, and drink it. And it was interesting. I was telling you, Kevin, earlier, not only do the actors, the reenactors, who wear all the garb and everything like that, but also the town becomes an aspect of reenacting, because during the war, the town shut down because of all the fighting going on. Well, it's interesting. The town shuts down because of all the tourism and all the people coming in there. So they are, unbeknownst to them, or, unfortunately, are reenacting that aspect of it too. So it's really kind of neat. And just not only the reenactments, but you get to, there's a lot of ghost stories and things like that, and history from the past. So it's really, really cool. I definitely recommend it.
They show pictures now of ghosts that are walking around at night in that area, because it was such a horrific loss of life in that battle, and we can't even fathom how many people actually died there. But it was like 50 or 60,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, one of the worst battles. Yeah,
and it changed the course of the war. It made Robert E. Lee from an attacker to a defender and trying to survive his command and stuff, and that led 2 years later to Appomattox and where the war ended. So I would love to go there. And do you got a room?
I do. Yep. You're welcome here.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. And but David, I want to talk to you about your book and about your mission. And you were a ball player of note, and you played college ball. And my favorite story that you've told before, and we should tell it again, just because there are people that are listening this time that weren't last time, that you were pitching. You were a pitcher.
Yes, I was a closer too.
And a closer, and because you were a closer, you were there at the end of the game, and on this particular game, you were playing well, and this is what happens, and it happened to me too. You walk somebody, and then in your mind you're going, "Oh, okay, I got a guy on first, and I can't walk anymore," and then, for whatever reason, you walk the second guy. And now it's like, I got guys on first and second, and go ahead.
Let me explain it to you. Yeah, I was a relief pitcher. And when I speak about this, Kloser is not a stage name. That is my God-given name, my family name. And I happen to be a relief pitcher. But I was called into the game in the 8th inning. We were ahead by a couple of runs, couple runners on base, got out of that inning. The next inning, the top of 9th, we go up. We don't score any runs. I go back out to close the game out. I get the first 2 batters out, ground ball and a fly ball. Next batter comes up, I walked him. Batter who came up after him, I walked him. The batter who came up after him, I walked him. So I got the first 2 outs, and I walked the bases loaded. And I just want to crawl into a hole and die.
David, I got to ask you.
Yes.
The infielders, because they're aware of what's going on, what was the look on their faces as you walked the bases loaded? It's like, was it fear? Was it, come on, David, you can do it? How did they respond?
It's that encouragement through gritted teeth. Come on, you can do it. And what cracks, again, I speak about this, but the dumb encouragement, it's like, come on, throw a strike. I go, what do you think I'm trying to do? I'm not trying intentionally to walk these batters. So I am trying. And it's one of those things, the harder I tried, the worse it became. And that's what, one of the main motivations for me to be a mindset coach, because there was nothing wrong with me physically. I wasn't overcoming an injury or anything like that. My arm wasn't tired. It was all up here. I was trying to be too perfect. And the silver lining of it all was my intention was, I don't want to give these batters anything good to hit. Well, I succeeded. I didn't give them anything to hit because I was walking everybody. Well, I ended up walking in a run as well. And then somewhere along the line, the coach came out, to calm me down or give me words of wisdom. And I have no idea what he said, because I put on the face of like, oh, sure, I got it. Yeah, I don't want to let my teammates down. I don't want to be that guy. And so he left. And then again, that's when I walked in the walked in a run, and then the coach came to take me out. And then the umpire says, "Where are you going?" He goes, "Well, I'm taking him out. I'm going to put another pitcher in." He goes, "No, you can't do that." Well, looking at each other, he says, "Well," he says, "Why?" He goes, "Because the sun is setting. This is the pitcher's last batter. We don't have time to warm up another guy and get him in. It'll be too dark by then. So it's basically sink or swim with me." And if I wasn't feeling the pressure already, it's like, oh my gosh. So long story short is I ended up striking the batter out. And everybody on our team was throwing their hats and gloves like we won the World Series. And I am extremely upset with myself. I could not celebrate because I felt like I couldn't figure out why I couldn't throw a strike. And I was really mad. And like I let my teammates down, let the coaches down, and it just really, really frustrated me. And so I figured if this is happening to me, it's got to be happening to other ball players in some capacity where I didn't forget how to play the game of baseball. Again, it was all up here and just trying to be too perfect, putting all this pressure on myself. It just was a recipe for disaster, which it turned out to be. And took a long time to get over that because I try to crawl myself out of that hole in next practices and things like that. Like I can't go back to that. So I was still living in the past while the game was continually going on.
Well, and I got to tell you, first of all, we have got a gentleman who listens to the show on a regular basis. He lives in Kenya, and Rochelle, this just bears repeating because it just gives you the idea of the reach. Rochelle, you did some research on him. He is in the Kibera slums of Nairobi, Kenya, together with his organizational team. What does he do?
Yes, he is the founder of an organization in Kenya where he helps provide and feed children and communities and bring them together, provide them things that human basis growth needs to happen. So we honor you, Samuel. Hello to you and your entire community. We love you. Thank you for being here and supporting us. Yes, he's huge to us, and it's perfect with the story you were telling because it's not about the circumstance. It's all what's up here and what you're willing to do with it.
Exactly. And that's go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, did you think when we started this show that you would have an entire village in Kenya listening to your words?
No, I didn't. And
I didn't. Nope.
It's more than life. There's no actual words to describe the feeling. It's just pure love and lots of thankfulness.
Well, tribute to you too, Kevin and Rochelle. I mean, the outreach that you guys have with the show, that's amazing.
We're working on it, and we're growing, and we do so many of these. We do the best we can, and there are some people that are just like, you've been on the show before, and the reason that you're on the show again is because we had such a fascinating discussion with you, and you are a mindset coach like no other because you've been through the wars and you've seen what it's like to get the yips. If you don't know do you know what the yips are, Rochelle? Dave,
I can't say I've heard that before.
David, explain what the yips are.
It's something like what happened with me. It's something that gets in your head that it affects your physical mechanics, that you overthink it. And it just, it affects your mechanics to where you have no control. There's like no feel, like for a pitcher, there's no feeling within the ball in his fingertips. And you have no idea where the ball is going to go. Like golfers get the same thing. Like how far back do I bring my backswing? Do I, so it gets very mental.
For sure. We do that with everything in life.
We do. It's a really big deal. And you don't know you've got it until you try and throw and it doesn't work. And then you say, well, that was just a thing. I'll do it this time. And then for some reason, it's like you forgot how to throw baseball. It's the weirdest thing.
Exactly. I remember there were a couple of baseball second basemen for whatever reason, Steve Sachs and Chuck Knobloch, a routine ground ball, like a two-hopper where they got plenty of time to field it and throw the runner out. they just sail it. They literally either throw it into the ground and it dribbles to the first baseman if it even gets that far, or it goes into the stands. Yet, if they have to turn a double play where it's really quick, it's reactionary, boom, he throws a strike. So it's that time. It's almost like if you're a basketball player and you're playing and you're moving and get the ball and you shoot, as opposed to being on the free throw line where nobody's guarding you. You've got all this time and you overthink it. How's my follow through? Should it be this way? Should that be that way? And that's what gets in the way of that mental aspect, gets in the way of the physical performance.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to follow along with us, go to davidkloser.com. I do believe, yes, davidkloser.com. And you can find out all about him. And also, one of the things that he does is he's a mindset coach. We all can use a reset of our mindset, because sometimes we get lost in all the day-to-day stuff. And we're going to talk about that with David when we come back. We need to take a quick break. And Brachelle, we'll be right back, okay?
Yeah.
I just have to find the right little thing that we're gonna do this. We'll be right back. Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, kevin@kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And Brachelle is there, then she wasn't there, and then she's back there and stuff. And I assume that everything's okay over there.
Yes, it's just these buttons, you know. I'm trying to take notes at the same time, and sometimes I do it weirdly. But David, while we've been talking about this, before we go any further, did you happen to find what was that thing that was holding you up? And is that what made you get into the mindset coaching?
Well, that my experience of walking all those players, getting in my own way, my mind getting in my own way, thinking if it's happening to me, it's got to be happening with other players. And then taking it deeper in a sense, or even broader, of coaching younger players and coaching the bigger picture of like what the life lessons from baseball. I mean, baseball and sports in general teach you a lot about life, teamwork, communication, working together, commitment, all that. And then how does that then, once your playing days are done, how does that parlay into life off the field? So whether it's in school or home or relationships. So I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, like every other kid I felt. So within this, and then coaching younger kids, really tapping into the younger generation of like what was going on with them. So I would ask them, you know, who their favorite baseball player was and why. And then I would ask them who was their least favorite baseball player and why. And the interesting thing I found out was their favorite player was usually about statistics, hit a lot of home runs, did really well in the field. Their least favorite player was about their character, you know, has a bad temper, gets in fights, has all this other stuff. So it's like, well, this is the future of baseball. I want to have a bigger impact. So it came to me the kind of this epiphany of, I'm going to go interview all these Major League Baseball players and find out their mindset, because these guys are at the elite level of their field and they've gone through all the levels and ranks to get there. So, and I find with baseball, it's kind of, I think, in every person's sport, you know, you got somebody like Jose Altuve and Aaron Judge, you know, so it's not like a typical prototype of a physical player, but at that level, everybody's physically equal, but what's the separator? And talking with these ball players, it's their mindset. You know, they think they belong there. They've earned the right to be there. They've got strong commitment, strong work ethic, strong family values, things of that nature that really have nothing to do with the game of baseball. So wanting to give that back to these younger generations. And in talking with the ball players in the clubhouse, personally, over 300 major league ball players, coaches, managers, Hall of Fame players that I talked with in the clubhouse face to face, and players from all 30 major league teams. That was my goal, was to talk to players from all 30 major league teams. Their aspect is to give back to the younger generation. So what a better way to do this. So again, if I'm a young kid and I want to emulate this ball player, like I said, myself, I did my batting stance or pick my number after them. Why not? How do they overcome an adversity? Like if they make an error in front of thousands, what do they do to get beyond it? Because as a pitcher, here's how you grip a curveball. Here's how you grip your changeup. Okay, great. I can practice this and use this in my game. But what about the mindset? Remember talking with Greg Maddux, Hall of Fame pitcher. I said, you give up a home run in a crucial situation. What do you do to put that behind you? How do you not let that carry over to the next batter? And he said, well, what I do is I make sure I get it out of my system first and foremost, but I make sure, absolutely sure, that I don't throw the next pitch angry because I'm already upset that the guy hit the home run off of me. And for me, taking this now off the field in a bigger picture for people who are in sales, if you get the door slammed on your face or you're doing cold calls and you're getting hung up on, the next person you call upon, they don't know about the last person you called on. So there's somebody fresh the first time. So what you shouldn't, as a salesperson, you shouldn't carry that negativity or that rejection into the next sales call or that negativity into the next batter. So that's, to me, it's like really taking those baseball lessons, sports lessons, but specifically for me, baseball lessons, and applying them across the board. I share with other people, like how to be, one of my chapters in my book is how to be a better teammate. I've got, at the time I was talking with the Dodgers, where they had players from Japan, Korea, Latin America, and America. So you got 4 different languages, but 25 guys on the team. How do they all communicate and understand the common language of baseball? So communication was very key. So for me, it would be like for parents and families, how can you be a better teammate to your brother or sister? How do you treat your parents like the manager and the coach? Okay, I know how to do that on the ball field in Little League or my rec team. What if I apply the same principles and same philosophy away from the field? What if I did look at my sister or brother like a teammate? Maybe I wouldn't have that so much bickering going on. So that's, I think, the bigger picture, how this has really exploded more than just baseball. And within the book itself, it's not about how to hit more home runs or steal bases. It's more life lessons. It's just pick a random page, and it had really nothing to do with baseball, but yet everything to do with baseball. That mindset of what you bring in to the field is how it's going to show up, how your game's going to play out on the field or in life.
David, can I give you an example of the cold call mentality? Because I was a district sales manager and had a bunch of guys, and a lot of them were like, I'm scared now because I got told no, and so they rejected me, and so I don't want to go do another cold call because I hate rejection. And then I had one guy that said, "Oh, I love it," and he said, and I said, "Well, tell everybody why you love it." And he said, because when somebody says no to me, that means I'm one step closer to somebody saying yes. And so for him, it was exciting to go talk to somebody. And if they said no, it's great. See you later. I'm one step closer to success. Isn't that a better mindset to have?
Absolutely. And for me, when I coach with athletes one-on-one, it's not only the mindset, but it's the energy, just in even how you said that. Your energy shifted. It was like, as you were talking about that one salesperson, the one who's like, oh, I don't want to get rejected versus, hey, I'm one step closer to a yes. Just even in that, just the body language, the head goes down, the shoulders go down, or the head comes up, the chest comes up. It's like, I'm excited. So that energy feeds off that mindset. And I think that's what I say with people too. It's like working with the energy. You feel it when you're in a game or you're going to a sporting event, even as a fan, you can sense and feel the momentum shift of a game. You can't touch it, but you can certainly feel it. When it's like, the tide's starting to shift here. The same sort of thing, that energy. So if you can corral or utilize that energy to work for you as opposed to against you, your outcomes are going to be that much better. So, and that's another mantra a lot of coaches talk about is trust the process. If you have that process of focusing in on your energy, the results will take care of themselves.
That is so true. Rochelle?
Yeah, and it speaks for everybody else too, like you said, not just to the other players, but to everybody in the audience, you know, that can feel this. And I think that's a good point to focus on anywhere in your life rather than just, you know, a game or any of these things, because I experienced the same thing with figure skating. I sometimes did really amazing, super crazy good, and almost surprised myself because I didn't overthink it before I went into it. And I had times where, I mean, still had my skates on and my outfit, and I was stomping out the front doors. I didn't even really want my little ribbon that they were willing to give me. I didn't want to take a picture. But that's what makes it special when you actually get to that point. How we've talked about, you know, you can't see the light without some darkness and vice versa. And how we choose to handle those situations, because everything is reciprocated from that. I mean, if you went out there and you're getting upset with yourself, and you don't have control of that, you are now affecting everybody, and they are feeling it whether you want them to or not. And we take that in life wherever we go. Let's say like people at I had this happen to me the other day where I went through the drive-through to order a drink, and the woman in front of me was there a little extra long, and I kept seeing things being handed back and forth and conversations happening, and I could tell that she was kind of just at her wit's end. You know, that one conversation before me set her over the top. And also to be that person on the other side that when you see that, rather than absorbing it, you know, remind that person, I see where you're at. I understand. And thank you so much for being the person who is helping me with what I need right now. Because it completely changed her mood. And then everybody in there, you know, that wanted to start the drama and all the other things, I think that also shifted it for them. Like, hey, it was just one person, one situation. And I told her also, maybe she was going through something and took it out on you. I don't think she would have thought about that either. And so it just, everything is always circulating. And I love that you brought up energy, because it's always there and it's always happening and we cannot stop it. Being aware of it is how we help control it. And you probably learned that pretty quick out on the field.
That's also a choice too. And I think, Kevin, to your point with that salesperson, the one who's more energetic, I'm sure the other person picked up on that energy of like, okay, let me try it. And I think there's two things you can do. You can compare, which I think is a detriment. Oh, you know, and that there's a distancing, as opposed to admire and appreciate. Wow. Okay. I admire how you're really excited that you're taking that no as a yes, that you're one step closer to a yes. Wow, that's interesting. Let me try that on, as opposed to if I compare it, it's like, yeah, well, you have all the cards, or everything, the breaks seem to go your way. Well, it's interesting. People have that more positive or upbeat energy. Those breaks, the ball seems to fall their way, you know, versus the ball not going their way. But the energy, there's a phrasing, I'm in a men's group, and it's like energy always wins. So if you got that negative energy, well, that's what's winning out. If you have that more positive energy, that's what is winning out majority of the time. You know, so it's recognizing that energy, feeling the energy, but also recognizing it. To your point, Rochelle, it's like I could not even be aware of that instance of the coffee and just go right in line with that, as opposed to being aware of it and making a different choice and a new shifting.
Well,
my wife was a figure skater too, so I kind of relate to your figure skating analogy.
I remember.
I saw her do some crazy stuff on skates, but David, as far as the salesperson going, we need to take our halftime break. But I would actually tell my whole group, and I said, if you're not prepared mentally to go do a cold call, go home. You're of no use to me. You're of no use to the company, and you're of no use to yourself. So, however, don't do that too much, because then I'll permanently make you no use to me, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But you've got to have the mindset. You've got to have a positive mind in everything that you do. Not whether it's ball, whether it's life, whether it's taking care of your family, doing. You've got to have the mindset that you can and that you're going to make it great. And that's what you teach people. And when we come back from this break, I want to ask David, how hard is it to convince people that they can when they've got this thing going on in their head that maybe from their mom or their dad or their grandparent or something that said, oh no, you can't do that. And how do you change that mindset to make it worthy of them actually understanding that they can make it work? And so that is a great conversation. And Rochelle, thank you for that last question. It was really cool. We're going to need to take a break, and we shall be right back. It's just 1:10. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And there she is. That's Rochelle. That's her right there. And we're talking with David Kloser. He's got a great book out, and he's a mindset coach, because at the end of the day, I believe mindset is everything. If you can have the proper mindset, you can accomplish anything. David, has that been your experience? And why is it that so many of us live lives that people say, oh, no, you can't do that. And you're too fat. You're too slow. You're too skinny. You're too this. And how do you help people understand that they can do anything that they like as long as they are willing to work for it and are willing to have a great mindset?
That's a great question. I jotted down some notes here too. And I work with athletes, specifically baseball players, just because I played, and it's from that travel age level, from age 12 through professional ranks. And my tagline is I work with a person inside the player. And I always say you were a person before you ever stepped foot on the field. So all that social conditioning, programming that we get beforehand about, like for my case, was afraid to let teammates down or trying to be too perfect, imposter syndrome. What's the coach going to say? I don't think I can. Those limiting beliefs. So when you got that social programming, and I've worked with some athletes on this too, it's almost what I call the playground syndrome. When you ever go to the playground, you see parents with their toddlers on the monkey bars, and the parent is helicoptering, hovering over it. Be careful, don't hurt yourself, be careful. Well, that's what gets instilled. And the kid is probably thinking, whatever, I'm having fun. Now I've got a different thought planted in my head, as opposed to those kids that fall down, they scrape their elbow or knee or whatever, cry for a little bit, dust themselves off, and get right back on. So that you can't do that mantra coming in, well, what about your plan B? Don't you think you should do that? It's almost looking at like either their projection, a parent or somebody else's projection of, I wish I was in your shoes. I wish I could do that, but I can't. Yep. Or I don't want you to get hurt. It's, what are the odds of you being a baseball player or being a fill in the blank? Don't you think you should because I don't want you to feel hurt, because if I did that and I didn't make it, I would feel hurt. So again, it's that overprotection, but from kids, and again, it's mostly the age I work with is the high school age. So parents have to be on board with what I'm working with the kids, is that look at it like your mom and dad are being protective. They're not putting the brakes on you, but shifting their perspective of they really care about you and they don't want to see you get hurt. Oh, okay. As opposed to they're squashing my dreams. So that's a different perspective. And again, it's that energy shift of I've got to fight this, as opposed to, oh, wow, maybe mom and dad or teacher or coach are really in my corner. They're just kind of coming about it in a weird way or a different way that comes across as challenging. I don't think you can. I don't want you to get hurt. So that lifts a little bit from the athlete to then go out and play. And I think also I jotted down, we talked about before, results versus process oriented, but it's also playing a sport, you play with your heart. And there's a lot with the numbers, the cybermetric, all the launch angles, all this other stuff, numbers. It's all head. And there's an aspect to playing with your head, knowing the situations, how fast is the runner, or, all these other situations. There's what's my bunt coverage, speaking baseball language. But it's also, I got to go out and play with my heart and have fun. So when we get, and again, my situation, a little bit, I think, Rochelle, you're talking about too, when we get caught up in our head, that's where we take the flow of the game, of the sport, of my athleticism out of the equation, because I'm now trying to be perfect, as opposed to, what if I just go out and play? I'm sure if you were skating in the backyard or local park, would you be thinking about technique? It'd be more fun, right? You're out there skating, just having fun and going playing. So it's that headspace of a parent or a coach or somebody, an authority figure that a player probably cares about or respects their opinion, but it's coming from their head, as opposed to, what about my heart? What is my, and there's that passion of being out there and just playing the game for the love of the game. So I think then working to get to know that athlete, for them to know themselves, like what's right, what's wrong, where it's more beyond just the sport itself, but it's that making decisions of what feels true and right for me, because I know myself. Am I going to compromise myself because, hey, my buddies want to go out and go drinking or something like that? But if I know myself, first and foremost, no, that's not right. Second, well, that's not in line with my goals of being a better baseball player or wanting to play at the next level, college, professional. Going out, staying out all night, that's not in line with what I'm doing. But if I don't know who I am and solid with who I am, I can't make that decision. So I'm going to be like a rudderless ship. Okay. I went on a tangent there, but those are incorporated in that answer of.
Well, and David, you've been around ball for a long time, and I wish you could answer me this one simple question that, and it's got to be a mental thing. But you'll have a guy, he gets drafted out of high school and he goes to the rookie league and he does well in the rookie league. And so the next season he gets to go to A ball and he does well in A ball and he gets up to double A ball and then they send him to triple A, and all three stops along the way, he's doing well. And then they say, oh, this kid's hot. He's going to be great. They take him to the major leagues and he fails miserably. Is that just pure mindset?
Well, disclaimer, I've never played professional baseball. I've never been in the major leagues or the minor leagues. I played as far as college. I played at UC Berkeley. So it's competitive nonetheless. It could be a number of factors. Mindset could definitely be a part of it. Players have their own thermostat, like when you're at your home, when certain thermostat, the air conditioning will go on or the heat will go on. They think, well, you set your own personal mental thermostat. I'm only going to be a 250 hitter. I'm only a journeyman type player. I'm only this type of player. And again, for whatever reason, their own personal beliefs. And that's, again, like with me working with them, I work with a person inside that player of like, what's underneath all that? Where are you getting these decisions and this thought, these beliefs that you are only a fill in the blank, just a fill in the blank type of player? Why can't you? be that type of player. So it could be any number of reasons for that. Mindset could be expectations that I don't think I belong there. Imposter syndrome. I am that type of. I feel good and comfortable in the minor leagues, but when I get up there, now it's a different game, and it is, from what I understand, it is a different game, even though it is professional.
Well, and you just said it, and in the book that you wrote, that you talked to a lot of professionals. I think all of them, if you asked them, they all believed that they belonged, that that's where they should be, and none of them said, "Oh no, I'm not very good at this. I shouldn't be in the major leagues."
Actually, to your point, there was one that came to mind. He said he didn't believe that he belonged there, and consequently, he got sent back down to the minor leagues because he thought, well, I got brought up because of somebody got injured, so I didn't feel like I really earned it. I wasn't there in spring training. I really worked my way, but that was just, again, a story and a thought. But yet he did earn it enough to be called up midseason because of an injury. But he was a pitcher. He got banged around a little bit, and again, his own beliefs. But when I talked to him, he says, yeah, I went down, and here's the key, went back down to the minor leagues, and I worked on that. I worked on my mindset. I worked on my training, whatever it was that he did, to when he did. It wasn't like if he got called up, but when I got called back up, I knew that I belonged there. And sometimes, and I think as you both know, experience is one of the best teachers. We can talk about it and preach about it and coach about it, but once you experience it and go through it, it's like, okay, now I know, okay, this is what it takes to really be here. And he incorporated that. And when I talked to him, he was up in the clubhouse in the major league locker room, and he shared that with me, which was great, to learn from that experience.
And I have to admit, I have to give you a lot of credit because you're working with teenage boys, and I remember being a teenage boy, and it was a very difficult time because I had no sense of myself, of who I am. Isn't that, Rochelle? I know you've known in your life a lot of teenage boys. They're an interesting breed, aren't they?
Oh, super. Have you met the girls? Oh my Lord. See, and see, the girls think that they've got it all figured out. They know exactly who they are. They work their little strut. They start with all their characteristics of who they want to be. But that's why it's so important. The age that you're teaching is, I know that we build a sense of self mentally within the age of like 7 or 8 years old. And that kind of, those are the unsubconscious things that kind of bleed into that. But when you're a teenager, that's when all the changes are happening too. Teenagers are not given a lot of room or space to make those mistakes and figure those things out and go through that's exactly what they're supposed to do, because they do that later on in life, the consequences are so much greater. So I'm thankful that you're working with them specifically, because it's building who they are, and it'll guide their entire life. I mean, you can we heard the story, we've talked about Kevin, what is it? Oh, the coward and the warrior experience the same thing. It's how they handle it. And you have to go through those experiences to learn how to handle those things, or you don't know. So I think we should be more open to those kind of things, not saying, just let your kids do whatever they want, let them learn for themselves. But, rather than tell them what to do and what not to do, give them a perspective, even share those experiences and say, hey, I've been where you're at before. And I know maybe a little bit of how you're feeling and what's going through your head. And this is my perspective. Take what you will with it, because when teenagers have an option, they tend to respect you a little bit more, and then they won't tend to want to do the wrong thing, but then they'll have fun in doing it. And like you said, David, when you're having fun in doing something, for me personally, I was a lot better at it. It was the time I had fun that I landed those jumps and I surprised myself. And it was also the times I got so angry that I went through major injuries, and how I also handled that depended on whether I'd get back on the ice and whether I'd do that jump or that spin or whatever it was again, and what I was going to believe about what was coming into me. But after we take this break, I want to ask you a question that I don't know if you've ever heard before, because we're talking about building community, building space and energy for yourself and for other people around you, no matter where you go. Have you ever talked to somebody in the pros that said, hey, I don't care whether we win or lose, because I'm here for the game and I'm here for my team, and what kind of a difference that made for them and their team. Or if you ever had an experience where you played against a team and they lost, but they were still super excited and they were still proud of themselves because they showed up and they learned maybe the wrong way to do something so that they could correct it next time.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a really good question, because I'm going to sit here and tell you that I don't think that's ever happened, not once ever, where somebody is okay with that because everybody else is. I remember I struck out. It was the bases loaded, and it was a full count. Yeah, you did. And the guy threw the pitcher right down. I was hoping for a ball. It was a strike. I got struck out. The inning was over. And one of my best friends the next day said to me, "Criminy sakes, I could have hit that ball." And I felt like about that big.
Yeah.
And that's and so that affected the next 10 times I got up to the plate. It was like, I'm going to strike out. It's going to be awful. And everybody's going to be laughing at me.
All because of that one moment.
And if that one moment can change everything, unless you've got somebody in your corner who can help you through it and process through it and to do the things that you need to do to get better. And David is that guy. We need to take this quick break, and we'll be right back. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this: be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. And welcome back, everybody. We're talking with David Kloser, and he is an author. He's also a mindset coach. Go to his website, which is davidkloser.com, and you can buy his book, which is Stepping Up to the Plate. And it is a inspiring interviews of major leaguers and a bunch of folks that have done it. And Brachelle, go ahead and ask that question again. I'm super curious. By the way, David, that commercial that I just played about kindness, yes, that's you personified. And so I want to thank you for that, because you care for people and you work to help people. And that's not niceness, that's kindness. And Brachelle, ask that
well,
again.
That's perfect what you said too, Kevin, about what that kid said to you and how that affected you. Because if he would have been kind, that would have also changed everything for you in that moment, and how you perceived what you felt of yourself. So you maybe took that on for the whole team just because of that one kid. I'm so sorry. But David, my question to you is, did you or your team, or through your experiences talking with people, have you ever talked to someone that is that doesn't take the loss as a loss? They still view it as a win for whatever reason. And did you ever think they were absolutely insane? Like, look at these guys. Did they know they lost?
Well, it's interesting. And talking with the players, a couple of things. I think, like to Kevin's point, when you lose, there's a sting. You know, there's like, what is it? There's some phrase I forget. We won with grace or something like that. It was a moral victory.
Yeah.
But it still showed up as an L in the in the box score or whatever. There's some players that they're all about me. They could go 4 for 4, but the team loses. I got mine. Or team wins and they go 0 for 4 and they're mad. They're upset because I didn't get mine. So there's a difference between that team player and the individual player. I think within that sting, I think Kobe Bryant said it, he doesn't lose any games. It's just an opportunity to learn. So the sting of the loss hurts, yeah, right away. But it's like, okay, then what can I learn from this? And I think you talk to any athlete, majority times, or I'd say maybe going on a limit, 100% of the times, they're going to learn more about themselves, their abilities, their team from a loss than they will from a win. Because you're celebrating the win. It's like all those things. What did I do wrong? What can I do better? It's always processing, and it's interesting. Kind of going back to your point with the teenagers that I work with as well. That aspect of having one foot in adulthood and one foot in adolescence, wanting the best of both worlds, and within that, they don't want to come across as losers, so they put that persona up of I got it all together, but I really don't. Inside. Maybe they're doing backflips, but on the outside exterior, it's like, sure, no problem. I got it. I'm cool. But
that's me.
to see right through that. And again, I think that also comes from the difference between the process oriented and the result oriented. And there's the attachment. I am all about my result. If I win, I'm a good person. If I lose, if our team loses, I'm a bad person. I'm not a bad person, but I feel bad about myself. My self-worth and self-esteem is dependent on whether we win or lose. We win, my self-esteem's up. We lose, my self-esteem is down. So that attachment, to not have that attachment, to go out and just play about the process. And I think it's shifting that perspective of not so much about hits, runs, and errors, but more about, did you give your best effort? What can you control? I can control my effort. I can control my attitude. Can't really control the ball once it leaves the bat. Sometimes you hit a ball right on the numbers, line drive. The defensive player makes a diving catch. Great play. Are you upset? Yeah, but, you again, step back and look at it. That's great baseball. You did your job, hit the ball in the numbers. That guy over there on the defense made a great play. Got to tip your hat. That's just great baseball. So processing that too, it's not all about the results. That I think that's where we could, that confusion gets in with, if it's all about the result, then I'm going to try and create shortcuts to get the result because of my self-worth. And one of the things I always tell my players is, you have a bat, you've got batting gloves, you got your glove in your equipment bag, keep a notebook and a pen or a pencil. And to write down after every game, even after every practice, what are 3 things I did well today in practice or in the game? What are 3 things I need to improve upon? So whether you win the game, you go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, there's still come up with 3 things you need to improve. Whether you lose the game, you go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, made a couple of errors, still you got to find 3 things that you did well. Maybe you struck out, but you didn't swing at a pitch over your head. Okay, because baseball, as they say, is a failure-oriented game. And if the scales aren't balanced, it's always, what's wrong? What do I need to improve upon? I'm never going to get there. It's out of balance. But we need to balance that out with, what did I do well? Mm-hmm. Getting back to your point, Kevin, of like feeling like I belong there. What are some of the things that I do well? Why did I get called up? Why does the upper management, the bigger leagues, want me? They want me because of the certain part of my talents, X, Y, or Z that I do well. But let me, own that so I can take that into the next level. But if I'm always thinking about the cup half empty, I never get that balance point of like, oh, I am good. And the difference between being bragging, but also knowing, again, that's knowing yourself, knowing the athlete, knowing themselves, like, I bring a lot to the table. Here's what I can bring. And I'm good at it. And I can focus on it. And because I know I'm good at it, my confidence is up. And I can now trust my teammates behind me if I'm a pitcher. So it's getting back to knowing yourself. And I kind of went off on a tangent on your question, but it's just, I think it's learning from your lesson. And if you keep a notebook and write down what you learned, mm-hmm. Every day is going to be new. So you're never going to have it and be there to know, like, okay, I learned everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned control. That is, for a teenager, that's a big concept to try to wrap your head around, even for me as a young adult. but it reminds me of like a moment. I was super small and I went to a softball game and I'm watching all these adults play. It's supposed to be just for fun. And a storm comes in. They were doing really good. One of them had a few extra drinks, and right as he swung, the wind, it picked up and it took that ball a completely different direction. And he was screaming and throwing things. And he's like, that wind. And that affected how he felt about himself, all because of something he couldn't control. Even as a full-grown adult and as a little kid watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, the wind is so bad. Playing in the wind just sucks. It's just horrible, and you can't do it. Nobody's good at it. But if he would have maybe had just been like, oh wow, look at that wind, it wants to test me, maybe I can test myself and see how good I can be at this. It's that perspective and realizing your control is huge.
Rochelle, he was a bigger guy, but I would question whether or not he's actually a grown-up adult based upon his behavior.
Okay.
David, I got to ask you a question, because I know that you work with a lot of teenagers, and there are some parents, predominantly fathers, who play through their successes of their kids. Because they never were able to achieve that success. Or maybe they did, and they want the same for their kid. But I got to ask you, have you ever had one of your kids who went 0 for 4 with a couple of errors say to you, David, I don't want to go home?
My dad's going to be mad. Yeah.
No, that hasn't happened to me. No.
Oh, that's good.
But again, it's focusing on their effort. Nobody goes out, again, to try to make errors. I wasn't trying to walk a bunch of batters as a pitcher. Everybody is giving, I believe, as a coach, when I was coaching teams, that they're giving their best effort. Nobody wants to let their teammates down. And that's part of the game. And the kids I work with, you got guys who are getting paid bazillions of dollars, who do this for a living, who make the same exact mistakes as you. They come to a ball, pull away, and the ball drops. Somebody should have caught it. That happens in the Little League. It happens in the major leagues. There's all sorts of errors. I mean, all these bloopers. So nobody's immune to it. Again, it's how you handle it. And some of the kids who want to play in college, I say, you got college scouts looking at you. They know you're going to fail. So don't try to be perfect. They want to see how you're going to respond when you do strike out, when you do make that error, because they want to see it's a tough season. And the next level is tough. Can you handle it mentally? Or are you going to go down the drain? And then as a coach, I'm going to have to worry about you, as opposed to knowing that you can handle it. And I can now count on you, not to come through, but to give me your best effort and bring that energy.
Yeah. Resilience.
Yeah. But that's, I one of the younger teams I would coach, we were learning leadoffs, and I would tell the guys, get picked off. Not intentionally, but get a big lead, so the pitcher has to throw over to first base so you know what his move looks like. But if you're playing it safe, because I don't want to get yelled at, I don't want to let teammates down, I don't want to be that guy, well, you're not getting any better. You're not growing. But how are you going to be ready for the next level if you never see faster pitching or a certain move or a certain style of play, to really push and challenge yourself to know that failure is okay. And that's where you learn. And so to that point, it would be maybe for me to pull that father aside and say, here's an opportunity for him to learn, your son to learn. It's nobody. Last I checked, there were no college scouts, pro scouts in Johnny's Little League game looking to sign a contract. And nobody.
Yeah, but he's going to be good. He's going to be really good.
And how many guys are in the major leagues? And again, it's a very small number that make it there, who were overlooked in their high school years. They were late bloomers. You don't know.
There was a guy that was on my team. His name was Frank Williams, and he was a third baseman. His twin was a catcher. It was ahead of me, and so I played right field. And anyway, he ended up as a relief pitcher for the San Francisco Giants.
Really? Okay.
So, who knew that he was going to end up being a pitcher when he was a third baseman, and nobody ever thought about it. So, David Kloser, we've got to wrap it up. But give us your information so that people can find you, find your work, find the book, and say hello.
Yes, my website is davidkloser.com. It's DAVIDKLOSER.com. So like a relief pitcher. My email, if they want to email me, is dpkloser, David, like D like David, P like Peter, closer @gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. I offer a 20-minute free consultation for anybody, like discovery call. So want to get into their mindset and find out where they're at and how I might be able to support them. And it's more than just, again, about the sport. It's about how to become a better human. If you're a better human, better person, you become a better player. So, yeah.
If you can be a great teammate, you can be a great person.
Exactly. Because your playing days are going to end. So what you learn on the ball field is going to help you in life, all the better. So thank you for having me, Kevin and Rochelle.
Of course. Thank you, David.
It was awesome. Thank you, Rochelle. And we got to go, but go to David Kloser, KLOSER.com to find out all the information about him. And thank you, young man. And take care of them kids. Teenage boys need all the help they can get. I just know.
Yes. I wore one once.
I wore one. Exactly right. I don't remember that much of it, but that was a long time ago. But
yes.
Thanks again, man. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.